When you have over 700 old Nintendo games, sometimes you just have to pick one off the shelf and give it a playthrough. Let's check out The Little Mermaid, based on the famous movie from the end of the 80s. And would you look at that, surprisingly this is a Capcom game and not LJN like so many other movie-based games of the era, so this should be pretty good. Let's pop this bastard in and find out. Well, right away we have a great little rendition of Under the Sea. I always appreciate when developers were able to incorporate the movie soundtrack into the games. I believe the story of the game directly follows the movie, but it's been like 30 years since I've seen it, so who knows. Ariel falls in love with Frankenstein's monster with a horrible unibrow, while Ursula does some evil stuff and you have to stop her. You'll notice immediately that The Little Mermaid is definitely a pretty polished game. The background is well detailed, the music is upbeat, and the enemies and sprite animations are all pretty damn good. The controls are also very tight, and you get the feeling that your character is underwater, but without the annoying feel that typically follows along with it. There are big shells you can pick up and either use as a weapon or as a key to open big chests that contain power-ups for Ariel. Your normal attack in this game is very Bubble Bobble-esque. After a couple hits, you can turn most enemies into little bubbles in which you can pick up and toss at other enemies. This will be your primary way of dealing damage to the bosses as well. There are plenty of little secrets that are easy to find out in The Little Mermaid. For example, you can brush your tail up against sand to reveal a shell that you can use later in the level. There are other window ports and things to take a swing at from time to time to review other hidden upgrades in each level. Give it a try and see what secrets you can find. The boss battles are all pretty fun and provide at least a tiny bit of challenge. I like how they all at least feel a little different and are fairly detailed and thought out. I thought these eels were pretty tough and that animation looked really good. The rest, including the end boss, are super easy, but that's not a bad thing. At least they last a little longer than the bosses in Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. The Little Mermaid has a fair uptick in difficulty as you make your way through the game. I wouldn't say it's the easiest game on the system, but it's probably not too far off. Which makes sense, because the point of this was to sell to 6-year-olds at the time. This is in stark contrast to Barbie, which is on the same console that is a hard game for even a 30-year-old. I'm still baffled by the difficulty of that game. The Little Mermaid has a nice ending cutscene as well, which is always a nice surprise. If I were to have a complaint, and they're not even that valid, it's that the game is pretty short overall. The levels don't exactly change a lot, and there's a lack in variance from level to level, apart from one typical fire or ice stage. The music is also not Capcom's best. There's really no track that stands out to me after that great main title screen. They all just kind of blend together after that. So with all that being said, this is probably the best game any fan of The Little Mermaid could have asked for on the Nintendo, and I think it's right up there with the best of any movie-based games on the console, except for Batman. That's far away in its own Batman tier of games. Even if you don't give a crap about the movie, I believe that any NES fan should probably pick this up for the collection. It's cheap at $15 or less. As far as the rating goes, it's probably one of those weird between 3.5 and 4-star games for me. I personally think it's missing something to move it to the 4 tier, so I'll settle for 3.5 out of 5 stars.